I think there will be less people if the recession is there, when it's more or less there. Less people will change property. They will be more cautious. The same thing on the buying side. Less people will buy property. Let's see what the prices do. I'm not that sure that they will drop a lot. Sales prices during COVID, when transactions went from 100 to 0% overnight, because you couldn't visit properties, no notaries, nothing, prices dropped around 10%. That's not that much for such a dramatic impact market. This is the same as before. This is by capital, by city, Barcelona. You see all the cities along the coast, supply is down a lot. Prices at the vertical bar are up a lot. So it's not only Barcelona. Malaga, 46%, the same as Barcelona. Okay.
Why is the supply decreased?
There's a question here on why is supply decreased of properties. There's various reasons. There's one part which is legal certainty that you have as an owner of a property. And certainly in Barcelona, there's a big problem because that's occupation of properties. There was rental indexing or rental caps index. There is social housing enforcement that you need to follow. So it's not that easy as an owner to rent out a property. So people take it off. At the same time, demand is up a lot. Because since after COVID, a lot of people want to change apartments. They say they realize they didn't like the apartment where they were living. It's too small, too dark, no outside space. They want to change, but the market isn't ready for offering so many apartments. So there's many reasons, but that's one of the things we expect. So you need to, basically, preparation is key. And I'm a big believer in having a good methodology and preparing up front. If you're not prepared, you like a property, you want to rent it, what happens when you like it? The agency says, come to the office, and they put a contract in front of you. And you don't have much time, and you're a bit emotional, it's the apartment you want, and many people sign. No, don't do that. Think up front, as of today, you should know what a good contract should include. What are your rights? Because many contracts are not okay. They put rights, or there is costs or obligations that are for the landlord, and in the contract will say it's your obligation. That's not okay. So you need to know when to push back. Don't just sign. Okay. So preparation. Of course, an apartment. What is the rental price? It's in your budget or not? That's fine. But rental prices are indexed, and you need to understand how the indexing mechanism works. Because today the consumer price index is around 10%. So if you sign a standard rental contract today, in October next year, if the IPC index stays around 10%, €1,000 becomes €1,100 just in 1 year. It never goes down again. Huh? And then the next indexation is based on 1,100, not on 1,000 anymore. So understand how the mechanism works. There is ways you can sometimes negotiate indexation. We've done this for clients of ours. Huh? Where can get better deals or no indexation in this high inflation periods. And that's very, very powerful. If you can postpone indexation by 1 additional year, it's easily €1,000 a year you gain for the rest of your contract. So that's things you need to understand this, because when you're there to sign a contract, it just says, and the agency will say, no, it's normal, it's a law, it's indexation, as your salary might be indexed, right? But you can also try and avoid these kind of things. Agency fees, so you pay the agency. Typically 1 month of rent or 10% of the annual rent. That's not a big difference. Plus VAT. You pay deposits and warranties. You know the difference? Legally speaking, for long-term contracts, how many years is a long-term contract in Spain? 5, 1, 7, 2. Okay, so you need some preparation. Standard long-term contracts are 5 years or 7 years. 5 years if the owner is a natural person, an individual. 7 years if the owner is a legal entity, a company. Okay, standard duration. Deposits normally is legal deposit typically 1 month. 1 month of rent, which you should deposit at Incasol, which is like the official instance. So don't give it to the owner directly. And they ask typically an additional warranty. which they call freely agreed additional warranty. It's not freely agreed. You do that or you don't get the property. But that's how they call it in the contract. 1 to 2 months typically. How do you pay deposits? Always bank transfer. If the landlords ask you, pay it cash, don't do it. There's no trace. When you leave the property, they will check the state of the property and they will always discuss, and you might not get your money back. Official payments, very important. Utility contracts, maybe other costs that come your way. You need to understand this. When you visit the property, what do you check? I'll come to this in a second. It's not just about do you like it or not. You need to spot very quickly if there's potential problems, if there is noise, if there is odors, smells. What about the neighbors? Who visited properties in the last month for renting? Who of you went to speak to neighbors in the building? So imagine you rent a property and next door is an Airbnb apartment. You live upstairs. It's a party apartment. We have a master class as well. Just simple price, we don't even price for this week. You get several contracts that signals. If you're interested, then you just understand only what the rental is, what's the rental is. It's 5 years, it's 7 years, it's deposits for so many months, etc. And understand where you could negotiate. If a property has some defects or cons, some mold in the bathroom or in the kitchen, humidity, or one of the windows doesn't close properly, maybe you can negotiate the price a little bit. Because even 50 euros a month, 100 euros a month is a big difference, and these things happen, and this can work sometimes. Or try to negotiate the rent indexation. We had a case last week where we managed to postpone indexation until month 24. So October in 2 months, in 2 years from now, sorry. It saves you €1,000 right away for the entire duration of the contract per year. You need to know that. Because when you're out there, a quick decision means you have thought about everything and take a confident decision. Then there is different types of rental contracts. The simple differentiation is duration. Short-term rentals, I don't think that's for you. That's like Airbnb style, less than 1 month. A week, a weekend, a few days. Okay, happens a lot in Barcelona. You don't have a contract normally. You book it through Airbnb or another site, and that's your booking confirmation. That's it. No rights on the property. Long-term, I mentioned 5 or 7 years. And then there's maybe many of you know this in Barcelona, temporary renting. Seasonal renting. Anything between 1 month and 11 months. Not more than 11. If it's more than 11, they can consider it long-term rent, which means other legal obligations and rights for you and for the tenants. Okay. The question is to know which contract you need. So you can do questions at the end. You cannot take this type of contract and then just change it to 10 months. That doesn't work. Because then you're overcommitting in terms of your liabilities and responsibilities. It's a special contract. The differentiating factor is, why do you want a property? Is it to live full-time? Meaning you want to have a domicile, your official address, you want to have it there? Or is it, no, I come for work assignment, for sabbatical, I come studying, just for leisure, vacation, whatever, sure, that's fine. But the contract has to state what your purpose is. And it will state very clearly the purpose is different from permanent housing. And you don't pay attention to this when you read it, but there's massive legal implications for you. Okay? That's what you need to know. In this type of contracts, anything less than a year, you cannot put your official address there. Not possible. Which means that maybe you need an official address. If you have kids that go to school, the school wants you to have an official address. Domicilio. So that's implications there that maybe you don't realize, and you have a problem further down the road. Costs are slightly different. In here, you pay more costs because you might pay homeowner association fees sometimes. You should try not to pay them. You might pay the city tax that the landlord should pay, but legally they can ask you to pay it. In the short-term model, you don't pay these things. Okay. These apartments are furnished. These ones are maybe furnished or maybe not furnished. So that's things you need to consider. What? Questions? What's the time? How are we doing time-wise? Okay, so I have a bit of time. It's fine. So important points here. When you visit, have your list ready of what you want to check. Talk to these neighbors. Check out tourist apartments. That's one thing. But when you visit a property in those who visited the last few months, did you check the heating? Probably not, because it's summer and it will work. All right. You should do it. If you like the property, take time, push back to the agent, even if it's another visit. Check the heating, check all appliances, if there are appliances. Because if you sign a rent, then responsibility for repairs and maintenance because of usage is your responsibility. So if the air conditioning does not work properly and you signed a long-term rental contract, you pay the repair of the air conditioning. So you better figure out, or the heating, you better figure out before you sign. Right? Sorry?
If it's short term, like
for short term, you don't pay the repairs normally, but you pay the consumption. So you pay the electricity consumption or gas consumption of this thing. But test these things. It's very easy to do. It's very weird, I know, when you go to a property and you turn on the dishwasher, they go like, this person is crazy. Yeah, maybe. But repairing a dishwasher is a few €100 if it doesn't work properly. So test it.
How much of this price if you find a person to rent from directly without the agency?
Sorry, I can't hear you. How much of this applies if you find directly, not through an agency? I think it's the same, because you have to go through an inspection, evaluation of the property. Do you like it or not? You have to check all these things. You have to sign a contract. And if the landlord does it directly, it's either because he knows how the contract should work, how we should protect him or herself, or maybe he doesn't care, but I don't think they don't care. So they are informed as well. So you need to go to the contractuals as well. It's maybe more direct and nicer, but again, no cash payments. Things, verbal agreements, no. Don't worry, I will repair the window closes, but there's a lock. Don't worry, I will repair it. Put it in the contract. The landlord commits to. If you cannot check everything during the visit, ask for a clause in the contract that gives you 10, 15 days to report any problems with appliances, for instance. Right? They don't have to accept this clause, but you should ask for it, because that gives you protection. Because there is things you will only figure out. There's places where you turn on air conditioning, cold air, and then after half an hour, the air isn't cold anymore because there's gas missing in the engine. So that's things you. There's not a question here.
what if nothing is done and they just send you to Fincas and they do nothing? What would you do?
Sorry, say again.
If there's, for example, you give them like 10 days to fix it, but there's nothing is done for months, and they only send you to Fincas, and Fincas doesn't care. Is there
Yeah, so the question here is what if there's a repair needed and they basically don't do it? They say they will do it, but they don't do it. That's the start of a problem, because then you need to discuss with your landlord or with the agency. The agency will often say like, because the agency makes money when you sign the contract. You pay them a month. Everything they need to do afterwards, they don't get paid for. So what are you going to do? Nothing, or the limit, the lowest amount of work possible. So to try and have, if you can, try and know your landlord if possible. Try and have a direct phone number as well for these kind of things. And just be reasonable. Just say like, look, this is... Yeah. But make sure in your contract it is clear who is responsible for what. Not just a general sentence on one second. Landlord needs to maintain the property in habitable conditions. Condiciones de habitabilidad. Meaning, if the main drains are obstructed, he should repair that. If there is a crack in the wall, if the front door doesn't close, these kind of things, and it's not your fault. But if the water tap leaks or the air conditioning isn't working properly, that's your responsibility. Question here?
Hi. How possible is it to get out of a contract once you've signed? Are you allowed to sublease it or do something like that?
Question is, how easily can you get out of a contract? Can you sublease, yes or no? Getting out is, there's a clause in the, I can't do this now, but if you look at the masterclass, I'll show you, I go on the screen through sample contracts. There is a paragraph clause on termination, okay? So both sides can terminate. You, probably it will be like 2 months notice that you need to give for terminating the contract. If the landlord is really breaching so he's not doing anything, there's other ways to get out of it. But there's a notice period in. This is going to be difficult. So
Just unplug it. Live stream?
yeah.
Pay for fix the problem and don't pay this month.
Okay, so you would compensate.
Exactly.
Yeah. Question is, if there's a problem and you pay to fix the problem, can I then deduce it from a rent next month? No. So, because he could say, you're not paying my rent, which is a reason for terminating contract on his side. So don't do that. Except if he agrees in written that you can do this, then it's fine. I would keep it separate accounts, and get his authorization to do some repairs and to pay for it yourself, and that he will pay it back. Not just deducing from the rent.
I have 3 questions about midterm rental. If we can renew a midterm contract?
Can you renew midterm contracts? You get into a difficult legal gray zone, because if it's the same person, they will say this is just finding a way to avoid the long-term contracts. So you shouldn't do that on the same person's name. Don't do that.
And it's possible to leave before the period if you rent for 6 months?
There should also be termination language in the contracts for short-term rentals. There is also. Yeah.
So I'm about to rent a place, and this landlord wants to put extra deposit because I have a pet, like 3 months deposit. Is it even?
How much is it actual deposit?
Sorry, three deposits he wants. It was 2 deposits normally, but
okay.
because I have a pet, it's a furnished apartment.
And how? So 3 months he wants?
He wants 3.
The question is, my landlord is about to rent the property. Landlord wants, instead of 2 months, so 1 month of legal deposit, 2 months of additional warranty.
I mean, it was 2 months.
Of the 2, and he wants 1 additional month because she has a pet. Is that allowed? So you can freely agree on these kind of things. Short answer is, search on internet the law, the Ley Arrendamientos Urbanos. Huh? No, go there. Go to the section about garantía adicional, additional warranty, and there you can exactly have the text what you need to apply.
Where do I go again?
I will explain you later.
I want to ask if my contract's 5 years, the amount of rent it's gonna change every year, or there's a legal percentage or what?
Okay. Question is, my contract is for 5 years. Is my rent changing every year? So you need to check in the contract, the indexation. There should be a clause if the rent is indexed, yes or no, and how frequently it's indexed. It should be once a year normally. It should be indexed based on the consumer price index, which is an official percentage published by the Institute of Statistics of Spain, INE. You can just Google it. INE for October 2022. And then you don't find it because the data comes with delay. So you take the last IPC index from 3 months ago, typically, from July probably now. Yeah, July probably now. But you need to check in the contract what it says. If it's in.
The change of the renting, it's monthly or
once per year. It's annually. Change is annual. Yeah, not monthly. Yeah, one more.
So you mentioned that you can. So you mentioned that you can put your indexation to 2024, for instance. You can negotiate, like let's say, instead of increasing the rent every year, can we negotiate?
The question is, can you negotiate that your rent is not indexed every year? You can negotiate everything you want. So as long as both parties agree, a lot is possible. I think the question is, you need to find a creative way to put it on the table and win the discussion. Because, and if you just say, I don't want it to be indexed, they will say, no, we follow the law, we index it. But if you build up a story and you say, for this and this reason, we think, etc. Was a question here?
It was about the consumer price index. I thought there was a maximum that could be
Okay.
The price could be increased.
So question is there a maximum on the consumer price indexing, on the rental price indexing? Sorry, they put a measure into place because of the current situation with high inflation, where they could not index more than 2% per year. But again, these are very temporary measures. So you always need to check the latest legislation before you sign a contract, because these things might change. Yeah, but this will change.
So how different is seasonal rental versus long-term rental? And that's your like a master class cover like seasonal
Yeah.
rental.
In the masterclass, I talk about both seasonal rent and long-term rent, even with a comparison table, so you can see what are the key differences. Yeah.
Can you go over a little bit like the key differences right now? The key differences between seasonal and long-term.
Yes, it's included there. More questions? Yeah, okay.
For midterms rents, 10 or 11 months, we also have to pay 2 months for deposit.
Yeah. So what is the deposit for short midterm rentals, monthly rentals? Typically also 2 months. Yeah. They will ask. Sometimes they ask for more, depending if the apartment is very nice or these kind of things. They might want some additional guarantee.
There's a maximum. You can ask for 6 months, for example.
No, that would be abusive. That's abusive if they do that. Then I wouldn't go into a contract that somebody wants 6 months. That's a bad starting point of a relationship. There's no trust then from the other side, so I wouldn't do that.
Is it required to have a Spanish work contract to get a long-term rent?
Is it required to have a Spanish work contract for long-term rentals? No. You can have a long-term rental contract with passport without having a. No. The other thing is the landlord. They will want to see documentation about your financial situation, so they will ask you for the last 3 or so payslips. They might ask you for a work contract, but what they want is a guarantee that you have income. So I don't see a reason why having a non-Spanish work contract, for instance, will be a problem. If you have no work, if you have no income, that's different. Then no, it's very complicated. More questions?
You said before signing the contract, when we check the apartment,
Yeah.
if the sink is leaking, it's not the landlord's responsibility, right?
Mm-hmm.
What changes? Why it's not his responsibility?
Because the question is, if a water tap is leaking, it's not the landlord's responsibility. So because there's a legal definition, and they differentiate between repairs required because of usage, or maintenance required because of usage, and a water tap, it's because you use it. Air conditioning runs out of gas after 2-3 years because you use it. If you don't use it, so that's how, from a legal point of view, they look at it. But there are good landlords, huh? I mean, some people, they say, don't worry, I'll fix it, because they want their property to be in good conditions.
So it's just important to point it out in the contract.
Yes. And if you see something, mention it before you sign. Be transparent about it. One thing I forgot, final tip from my side. If you sign a rental contract, attach pictures of the property to it. But not a picture you want to show to your friends. No, a picture of the microwave, a picture of the water boiler, a picture of any appliances that might be there, or if there's furniture. Because when you leave the property, they need to give you back the deposit. If something is not okay, they might say we don't give it back. And that's a typical point of discussion between tenants and landlords, and it's not pleasant, right? And they are in a strong position, they have your money. And you need the money to rent another property maybe, or for something else. So pictures, don't put 6, 7 pictures on one page, put 2 pictures large enough so you can see how the sofa is. You can see how, if there's damage as well. If there's a scratch on the wooden parquet floor, make a picture so they don't say it's your dog later, right? And don't mind if it's 10 pages of pictures, doesn't matter. Attach it color picture so you see it well. And they need to sign it. You both sign it.
Property out, are you allowed to rent a room out?
If you rent a property, are you allowed to rent a room out? Only with permission of the landlord. So you need to have permission. Otherwise, so standard contracts will probably have a clause that says subletting is not allowed. If you do it, you are breaching the terms and conditions you agreed. Therefore, they could kick you out. I don't say they will do it, but you're legally then in a gray zone. No, that's okay. No, if your friends, they don't pay you. It's not like it's no problem.
And one more question. When it's the short term, like 11 months, normally they cover the electricity and water, but now the landlord asks me to put it under my name. So what is the difference?
Yeah.
Why?
So in a short-term contract, what happens with utilities or water, electricity? Often the landlord pays for it, and that's it. In the last year, with the high prices, a lot of landlords say, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. So they charge a consumption to you. And then normally he pays the invoice of the utility company, and then he tells you, I paid so much, pay it to me. Putting it on your name for a 3-month contract doesn't make sense. It's too much hassle. For 11 months, you can do. It's a guarantee for him that you will pay, right? Or you can also agree, just pay, and I commit to pay to you when you send me the invoice.
What I understood, they want to charge a fixed price, whether I reach to that or not. Like let's say
Yeah, sometimes they charge a fixed price, but
maybe less than.
with the high prices today, it may be better to have a fixed price, yes.
Imagine there is anything wrong and we reach the point of breaching the terms and condition. Which entity we need to go and try to complain that
If there's a discussion with the landlord? So if there's a discussion with the landlord, where do you need to go? I mean, I think first of all, make sure you understand what your rights are in the contract, and then talk to the landlord first. If there's an agency in between, maybe you need to talk to the agency because that's a channel you have. But bring it up, and then I think the first thing is trying to be empathic. You just call them, say there's a problem. If they respond and it's solved, it's fine. If you don't respond, an email, documenting things is good. You document it brief, and you just ask, you say, based on our contract, this is something that you should be repairing. Can you please take care? Let me know when you will do it, so I can be at the place to open the door. If it really doesn't work, then you have a problem. The easiest thing is a lawyer. Take a lawyer.
Do you insist to see the full contract before paying a reservation fee? Because a lot of places want you to pay a reservation fee just to guarantee that you've got it, and then pressure you to sign it.
Well, the question is if they ask you to pay a reservation fee to take a property off the market, should you see the full contract before? It's not. I don't like the practice where you pay, you pay some money, you don't see any contract because then they have the power, and then if you don't sign, what happens? And you lose the reservation fee. So that's unfair. So I think I would try and have something on paper. If you need to do it, pay a reservation, make it conditional. So you say, pending review and mutual agreement on the contracts and the terms and conditions, something like that, within the next 3 days or so. So not for 2 weeks. But try and protect yourself. If you just pay the money. No. Oh, this helpful? Yeah. So again, if you want to know more, take a look at the website. It's like 7 modules within renting. I talk about contracts, visiting, checklists for visiting, the costs that you need to be aware of, checklists. Take a look. Wait, I'm going to turn this off and then we can continue. Thank you, Raf. Thanks everybody. Have a good day. I'll put it here.